Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to meeting 5,451 of the Rotary Club of San Jose. All right. Today I want to thank our greeting line, The Next Big Project, combined efforts with our RotaCare committee, and we cannot wait to share with you what they have to reveal. All right, next with guest introductions, we've got our Red Badgers today. We've got Ryan Sebastian. Welcome home. You've been gone a long time. Introduce yourself, please, Ryan.
Hi, my name is Ryan Sebastian with Movable. My sponsor is Janica Clem.
Fantastic. And then we also have Chelsea Souza on microphone today.
Good afternoon. I'm Chelsea Souza with Pivotal, and my sponsor is Michelle Loxon.
Fantastic. Now, with Rotarians who are visiting and Rotarians with guests, please stand so we can get y'all introduced. All right, we're going to go do that left to right thing so we don't drive Kai crazy.
Am I first?
You're first.
Hello, President Heather. Kathleen Thomas, retired occupational therapist. And I have my dear friend here who's also my exercise buddy, Cindy Bridenthal, who is also retired.
Welcome. Looks like we've got Kelly. Over there. Oh, hello.
Hello. Hey, President Heather.
I'm so hyper-focused.
Once again, we have Yamai Zai with Armanino, who's my guest today, and hopefully a new member coming soon.
I like the sound of that. Welcome. Kelly Dipple.
Hello, President Heather. It is my honor to introduce once again Nick Campo. He is the president of Levitt Insurance. He has filled out his application, so he will be joining us here shortly.
Thank you, Kelly. Wonderful. Mike Conniff. Oh, get you next.
Hello, President Heather. Vincent Seri, Classification Securities Brokerage. I'm pleased to introduce JP Sahi, who's the CEO of RotaCare Bay Area and one of the partners on the Next Big Project.
Great to have you in the room. Thank you for all your effort.
President Heather.
Hi, Mike.
Good afternoon. Good to see you. Mike Conniff retired from San Jose State. I'm here with a very happy duty to introduce four the residents from the International House, who are here at the invitation of our International House Committee, which was in the receiving line last week. But let me introduce the four of them. Shivam is from India, Mumbai. He's studying computer science, that's right. Elisa is North American. She's from California, in fact, and she's studying journalism. They all reside in the International House, of course. Ashley is also from California, and she's studying aviation. She'll graduate at the end of this semester. And then finally, Gerardo is from El Salvador, and we're trying to get Mike Fulton here to talk to him, because he's from the same town where Mike's projects are all located.
Fantastic.
So I'd like all of you to welcome our International House guests and get to know them. Talk to them later on, okay?
Wonderful. Not a single Go Spartans for that? There we go. There we go. Hey, Kirk, how are you?
Hi, President Heather. I'm here today with the Executive Director for San Jose ICA, James Leventhal, and we have a big opening on September 14th. Everyone should check it out.
Fantastic. Great to see you in the room, James. All right. I'm seeing I've got, Bunny, you've already got the microphone.
President Heather, Bunny Layden, retired tech. I have two guests with me today. First of all, Nancy Johnson, who's partner at Berliner Cohen and also the chair of the board for Symphony San Jose.
Very nice.
And Glenn Gould, who's an audio restoration engineer and also my husband.
We love both of those titles. Great to see you. Hi, Tom Bondi.
President, I'm doing a handoff to Vic. He's doing the introductions here.
Hi, Vic.
President Heather, it's good to be here. I'd like to introduce my outstanding caregiver, Tusi.
And I guess I'll introduce his other guest, who's also my guest, my wife, Laurel, his daughter.
Wonderful to see the whole family. Thank you, Vic. We appreciate the shout out to caregivers. It's the hardest and most important job there is. Hi, Jay Ross.
Hello, President Heather. I'm Jay Ross. My classification is Law Practice Litigation with Hopkins and Carley. On behalf of my Rotarian partners in Hopkins and Carley, Erica Gassaway and Steve Ellenberg, I have several guests here with me today I'd like to introduce. The first is Dory Kilmer, who is our Executive Director of Business at Hopkins and Carley. Jody Schmidt, who is the Chief Human Resources Officer of Lathrop GPM. Jennifer Johnson, who is the President of Hopkins and Carley. And Court Landon, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Lathrop GPM.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing wonderful guests to Rotary. Robert.
Good afternoon, President Heather.
Hello, Nicholas Adams. You snuck in without
How
me
are
seeing
you?
you.
Nice to see you.
You too.
Two guests to introduce. The first is my son, Lincoln Adams, fifth generation San Josean, and maybe eventually someday a Rotarian.
Oh, definitely will be.
Lincoln had a half day from school today, so he's joining Dad and Papa at Rotary. And then second guest, someone who needs no introduction, former Rotary Club of San Jose First Lady Gina Adams, my mother.
Welcome, First Lady Gina. All right. Robert?
Good afternoon, President Heather. My pleasure to introduce my symphony colleague, someone who knows more of you than I do. Incredible arts education advocate in the community and outstanding actor, Lee Kopp.
Lee, so great to see you in the room. Come back more often, Lee. Love seeing you. Hi, Carl.
Hey, President Heather. I've got a lot of guests. First of all, I'm privileged to sit next to first man, Jay Alexander.
Yay! Thanks for introducing him.
He just appeared. It was weird.
He does that.
Former First Lady Marianne. Oh, you're a Rotarian. Forget it. And my brother Phil, my older brother Phil, and his girlfriend, partner, Susan Thomas.
Welcome. All right. So fantastic. Thank you so much. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Dave Cowan. If you notice, there's a facilities improvement here. 1 second. We have a timer clock in the back of the room that I can see from here at many feet away. Last one. We've got one more. Last introduction. Sorry. We usually go left to right, so you surprise me with the undulating wave. And next up is
President
Ring
Heather,
the Bell. So
another
get ready.
guest here, Greg Kepferly, Catholic Charities. Guest is Lisa Christian, our Chief Program Strategy Officer, who's been helping the Next Big Project on the Next Big Project.
Thank you so much for your efforts. I'm glad to be here. All right, next up is a Rotary favorite. It is time to ring the bell. So get ready. Think about all those things you want to share with us. It could be something that's burdening you and troubling you that you want us to know about so we can help you out. It could be something incredibly joyous and celebratory. It can be something extremely pedestrian, like perhaps a good deed that you've witnessed and want to share. But first up, I've got Jay Ross.
Thank you, President Heather. I want to ring the bell to celebrate. Today I want to ring the bell because effective October 1st, Hopkins and Carley is going to combine with Lathrop GPM, a national law firm headquartered out of Kansas City. Our combined law firm will have 360 lawyers. We'll have 13 offices spread coast to coast. For those of you who know Hopkins and Carley, it'll be the same great lawyers providing the same excellent service, but from this much broader, bigger platform, and we're very excited about that. As I mentioned today, we've got our 4 guests here today. I share in this moment with my fellow Rotarian Hopkins and Carley partners, Erica Gassaway and Steve Ellenberg. My journey at Hopkins and Carley began, my professional career began October 1 of 1990. Wow. And every day since then, I have proudly and honorably carried the Hopkins and Carley name with me everywhere I go, including when I was serving as president of this club. And we're very excited about this opportunity and what it brings. To me, this is an extraordinary moment, and I want to celebrate it in an extraordinary way. So if you were listening, you heard that we're going to become Lathrop GPM on October 1st of 2024. I started October 1st, 1990. That's 34 years ago, October 1st. So on the same day of my 34th year at Hopkins and Carley is also going to be my first day of the new adventure with Lathrop GPM. So I'd like to ring the bell 34 times.
Yes!
But it just gets better. because I want to ring the bell 34 times in honor of my 34 years at Hopkins and Carly. I want to ring the bell a 35th time in honor of my excitement over the opportunity and the great partnership that we found with Lathrop GPM.
I'm going for 16 more times if I did the math right.
Oh, I can't beat that, but
Oh, it should be up. I hit play. Yeah. Here's your final one. Oh my gosh, Jay Ross, that was so much fun. Thank you so much. We've been doing a photo op here. All right, next up.
Catherine Vandiver, retired exec.
Hi, Catherine.
From High Tech. I'm ringing the bell for my retirement that happened earlier this year. After 39 to 40 years in high tech, I decided to move on to the second part or the third part of my life. Quickly followed by 2 treks to the top of Half Dome with my sister and my nephews and nieces for a total of 6 ring the bell.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Hi, Emily.
Hi there, President Heather. My name is Emily Robin. I am ringing the bell one time as an invitation to all of you. If you were here a few weeks ago, I gave a program on behavior change and habit formation, and since then, a number of you have mentioned to me habits that you would like to try to form or break. So my invitation to you is that if you would like to be paired or grouped with a small group of other Rotarians who are working on a habit change, for example, Chelsea and I have been accountability partners to work on our morning meditation over coffee. If you would like to participate in such a thing, very low stakes, very low commitment, please contact me and we can group people so that we can all work on getting better together.
That's a beautiful contribution. Thank you, Emily. Steve Ellenberg.
So I'm one of the middling lawyers at Hopkins and Carly that's going to make it over to Lathrop GPM, and I'm very much looking forward to joining with Lathrop. Outstanding people, but I want to pay tribute to this guy who was an okay president, but I can tell you is one of the most outstanding partners you could ever imagine. He's a man of integrity, he's focused, he is authoritative, a great lawyer, and a great partner. And I don't want to steal any thunder, so I just think that we should have a clean 50 rings from Hopkins and Carly. So.
Thank you. I think that's 15? Did you want 15? Is that, I think he just made me do math up here. Fantastic. Mary Ann Salas, former First Lady Extraordinaire.
And honorary Rotarian, thanks to Steve Workenhagen. That's a hard act to follow, but as a former board member of Symphony San Jose and in the room with a lot of other people who I appreciate and admire, also as a patron of that fabulous organization, we are so lucky to have it and to have Robert in our midst. And now today, super lucky to have Jon Nakamatsu. And in case I don't say it, September 30th is opening day, opening weekend, opening evening of the Symphony, preceded by a really super fun gala event. Last year, Carl and I bid on and won the opportunity to conduct the Symphony in front of the whole crowd of people at the California. So if you want to do that, October 5th, and not September 30th, then it's unforgettable. So to ring the bell, well, you know, you rang it so many times. I just got the bill from the foundation for how many times. So I'm going to ring it twice. Once for Robert and once for Jon Nakamatsu, our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
President Heather.
Hi, thank you. Kai, you're getting your steps in today.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
everybody. Hello. So, 2 rings today. One, in honor of my great friend Jay Ross. I want to just celebrate you and your firm's great accomplishments. So 1 ring there. I also want to ring the bell for the next big project. It is finally here. It's actually not here yet. It's en route here. The mobile health clinic is going to be at the barbecue next week. Please come join, come see, come tour this beautiful health clinic that we have next week. So one ring for the next big project.
Thank you, Matt. So generous. All right, I got time for two more. I think we've got Kirk and we've got Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi, I'd like to ring the bell once for our dear sweet Marie.
Oh, thank you. So thoughtful. That's for you, Marie. All right, and final ring the bell from Kirk.
Hey, President Heather, I'd love to ring the bell once for Emily Ruvalcaba, who is recovering from foot surgery and not here today.
How sweet. I love these well wishes. Thank you. That's for you, Emily. All right, next up we have Around Town with Sal Pizarro.
How fun was that? All those rings for Hopkins and Carly. All right, as always, it is a great time to be in downtown San Jose, despite all this heat. It is shaping up to be a fantastic September, and I'm going to go through as much stuff as I can. Looking at that clock in the back, that's a nice addition. I like that. So, the San Jose Museum of Art is opening 2 new exhibitions on the work of Alexander Calder, Calder at Home Among Friends and Still in Motion. Some of this work has been donated by the family of former San Jose Mayor Janet Gray Hayes, who was a relative of Calder's. Her husband Ken Hayes was. Both of these open Friday, and that would be a great time to check them out. The museum also has its Always Creative Gala auction coming up September 21st, honoring artist Chitra Ganesh and Glenda Dorchak, who is receiving the inaugural SJMA Visionary Award. It is a big month in the SOFA District too. We heard, of course, that the ICA has a opening on September 14th. Also, you've got the big South First Fridays Art Walk this week, when galleries and other venues, including the ICA, I think, are open late to bring people in and often have music and receptions. Now, this week includes a special treat for opera fans who can get a preview of Opera San Jose's upcoming production of The Magic Flute. Now, that doesn't open until September 14th, but you can pop into the California Theater on Friday night to hear a few selections from that. The Sofa Market Food Hall, which was opened by our good friend Thang Do, will celebrate its 10th anniversary on September 13th. And the Sofa Street Fair, which is always a fun music-filled event, has its 10th anniversary on September 29th. City Lights Theater Company, I told you it's a big September, opens its new season September 26th with An Inspector Calls, which is a suspenseful drama that's got a little touch of Hitchcock going on. And of course, you're hearing a bit about the symphony and what they're doing. They're Sofa's house band, I like to call them. But they are having a non-downtown special performance. They're hitting the road September 14th to play with Arturo Sandoval at the Mountain Winery. So if you want to get out of town that weekend, you might want to check that out. And now this weekend, Viva Calle San Jose returns with 6 miles of roads closed to cars and open to bikes, walkers, and runners. The route goes from Roosevelt Park through downtown to the Municipal Rose Garden and then up to Japantown as well. The next Urban Vibrancy Block Party is September 19th, and that takes over Little Italy that evening. There will be lots of food, music, and fun to be had, and it's a good chance to visit some of the new restaurants there if you have not been in a while. And I see Dan Pocrano staring a hole into my skull, so I must tell you, this season of Music in the Park wraps up this month with a pair of concerts. Kuko along with Strawberry Guy and the Heart Tones on September 20th, and the always popular Jay Boog for the senior season finale on September 22nd. One thing I didn't mention, because I don't have a slide for it, is the San Jose Poetry Festival opens tomorrow, and you can read all about that in my column in the Mercury News tomorrow. And that's what's going on this month. Did I make it?
San Jose, so much going on. We have a new segment called What Are We Reading? Judge Weisbrot, come on up and tell us, what are we reading? He needs a round of applause.
So today, this month, the book club is reading A Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. It's about the rise of the KKK in Indiana, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Are those states sound familiar? Oregon. It's extremely riveting. It's very interesting, and I encourage all of you to consider it. I also encourage you to consider what the political impact of that book is on today's politics.
Let me push that forward for you. Oh, no. Right, are we supposed to be like there?
Go ahead.
There we go.
Go ahead. So,
Right? Is that, no?
well, I'm looking for the book. It's supposed to be up. They said that there was going to be a slide saying
There
the book
should be a
was up.
slide. AV's on it.
Okay, great.
We see it on our screen, which of course means you can see it.
No, but you can't.
Just stick with me here
All
till I
right.
got it going.
All right.
There we go.
Okay, so I very strongly recommend that you read this book. It's a really, really interesting book. And then I had suggested other books. I don't know whether we have a slide on those, but I had suggested a number of other books that you might consider, and there they are. I hope that they'll be put in the minutes of today's meeting, so when they publish those, if you have any interest in looking at these books, my suggestion would be to take a look at any of them. They're all excellent books. Anyway, we have a wonderful time at the book club. You're all welcome to join us. We have a concert, we have lunch, we discuss books, and it's a fun club, if you want to call it a club. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Look at those titles. Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing. We haven't gotten much airtime for our book club, and it was really important to me as a reader, someone who goes to my independent bookstore on a monthly basis and picks up a bunch of books, sticks them on my nightstand that I eventually get to. I mean, you guys know where the bookmarks are, right? Like within the first 30 pages. You guys got that, right? Like you all don't have a book like filled with bookmarks stuck to page 30. I try to get past it, but I do love reading so much. Thank you so much for highlighting our book club. And if you're looking for a committee, that's a great one to join. All righty, now it's time for Little President's Time. This week, I want to talk about pickleball for polio. You'll hear a lot more about that. Ryan's been out of town, and we're so excited to have you come back again. They are just gathering all of our pickleball players. But I want to let you know there is a polio tournament, pickleball for polio tournament happening, and you're going to want to sign up with that. See Leslie Corsiglio and see Ryan Sebastian for that. We're really excited to have our San Jose club represent. I know if I play, we won't win, but we will represent. So I'm hoping some other people will go and represent and win because we want all the swag, all that. All right. Next week, we have our fall barbecue. We already have well over 150 signups for this thing, which is fantastic at this point in time. For a last-minute town, I know we're going to get some great numbers for that. Rotary chefs, executive chefs, where are you? There they are. Raise your hand. Executive chefs, thank you. They're going to be cooking your dinner, so don't disappoint. And make sure and tell your friends. And this one is open to guests. So if you have a guest that you want to have experience of Rotary, there was some confusion, like it's only for Rotarians. Not true. Bring guests to this one. Sign up. You can see Tori in the lobby today, and we'll see you there. Now, the other thing we're going to have debuting at the barbecue is our next big project. Now, I believe I've got a... AV, I might need your help on this one. This is going to be our mobile clinic that we're going to be rolling out, literally rolling out that night at the barbecue. You can come in, you can open up the doors, all that. Don't kick the tires. That's just rude. And there we go. Will it be staffed that night? Okay, so this is our next big project. This was a biggie. And I want to remind everybody that we were able to do this without special assessments. So thank you to everybody who's you're current on your foundation dues. This is the kind of thing that we can do when we all chip in. Sometimes we do a special assessment, and that's okay too. But this group was able to do this without a special assessment, just with the support in the room. Thank you very much. I just want to let you know, I also got some San Francisco Giants tickets for the Giants game in San Francisco tomorrow at noon that Jason Stein is donating. The first person who raises a hand for $100 to foundation gets them. $100 for really good Giants tickets tomorrow. San Francisco Giants. All right, sorry, Jason, I tried. I got to move on now to, thank you. And then Robert Massey, please join me. I think you're going to be on the floor this time. We rearranged the stage a little bit this time for your ultimate experience in the Rotary Show. Robert, take it away.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I struggle to climb up here. We are in for a treat today. We have a local legend, hometown superstar. He is from here. He still lives here. Jon Nakamatsu. Now, we share him with the world. He is an internationally renowned, accomplished concert pianist. And welcome to Rotary, Jon.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I think every superhero has an origin story. And to set us up, you know, maybe talk about how we got here. Because when you think of, you know, your typical concert pianist, they probably started playing when they were no older than 2, entered the conservatory at the age of 14, and then, you know, eat, sleep, and breathe nothing but piano. In fact, if you ever talk to them in real life, they're kind of odd. You're a little bit of an outlier, so tell us about, you know, where you're from and you know, that kind of home environment and what ultimately led you to the piano.
Well, everyone who knows me thinks I'm kind of odd anyway, so I'm not sure where I fit in. I grew up on the west side of San Jose. I went to Prospect High School. I grew up a very kind of normal kid except for this one thing, and that one thing was that I really wanted to play the piano. I come from a family of non-musicians, so they thought I was odd because they had no idea where this came from or why I decided when I was 4 this is what I wanted to do. And I saw a piano at a preschool, a Challenger preschool, and that was my first exposure to an instrument, and I think it was a horrible instrument, but the teachers played it and not the students. And once I went over and just touched it, and I got really in trouble. So at that point, I thought this was the greatest secret ever, because if I can't touch this, I must learn how to do this. So my parents bought me a toy organ when I was 4 for Christmas, and I played with that for 2 years, and they noticed that I could kind of play things by ear off the radio and do things that they couldn't really explain. So at 6, they decided they would buy a piano and get me private lessons. And the teacher that I found at 6 was simply the wife of one of my father's colleagues at Lockheed, when Lockheed was a huge employer in Sunnyvale. And she didn't want to take me at first, but eventually she relented to hear me, and on the second lesson told my parents, "This, you know, there's something unusual about your son," and you know, their first reaction was, "Well, what's wrong with him?" and it took a long time for them to really kind of understand my life as somebody who just kind of looked at music and sound in a very different way than most people did. And it was something that I took to right away, but like all things, you know, the mechanics of creating a career from something that you love is often at odds with the reality of the situation. I went to a lot of competitions as a young person for piano and won, and then as I got older and went to bigger competitions, I started a streak of losses that just kept going and made me wonder if this was actually a life that was for me. So I decided I would stay with my private teacher who's taught me my first scales, and then 20 years later kind of accompanied me to the one competition that I did in 1997, which then changed my life. Because I had her, I decided I would do other things in school, and so I went to college and majored in literature and linguistics, specifically in German studies at Stanford, and I ended up teaching German at St. Francis High School in Mountain View. And I just saw one of my colleagues here, Holly. Is Holly here? Yeah, there you are. Which is amazing. This chair keeps turning, so I might only talk to half of the room at a time. But and that's what I was doing as I was trying to, you know, that was my day job, and my night job was really trying to become this performer.
So as a teenager, did you want to be a pianist?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to be an astronaut at that age, but a concert pianist, that's pretty cool. You know, a lot of musicians, you know, their side hustles include things like, you know, being a server, bartender, German teacher. That you don't do anything easily, do you?
Well, you know, part of the reason that I studied German and languages in general was because it had so much to do with what I did musically. You know, the core repertoire that I play comes from Central Europe. That's so great. Thank you. That's perfect. Pardon my casual leg up. But so everything kind of had a reason. But you know, by the time I was 10, I was having piano lessons 4 times a week for 4 to 6 hours at a time. So my life was really piano and home. And the one condition that my parents gave me was that I had to do well in school, and then I would be allowed to play the piano. So I never felt that I was forced, and in fact, it was my own thing. So in a sense, I had these two kind of full-time trajectories my whole life, and didn't really do much else. So I think like what you're probably getting at is you know, what gives at the end of the day. And I think really a private life, a kind of normal course of events for a private life went out the window. And so I was working or practicing when my friends were going out to the movies, later getting married, having children. All of that came much later for me. So I did get married. I'm a dad now. And in fact, there's nothing more important to me than that. So.
Wonderful. So you're teaching German. You still want to be a pianist. You're doing competition. So you mentioned, let's see, 1997. Something happened that kind of changed your life. Talk about that.
Well, after entering many competitions, so for those of you who don't know, a lot of musicians who want to be soloists, that is, who want to travel as classical performers, to play with orchestras, to play by ourselves, or to play with colleagues. We have piano competitions, violin competitions, music competitions. They're a little bit blown out of proportion in today's, you know, American Idol kind of culture, but at the same time, there is some commonality. One is that a piano competition can get you noticed. It can give a house a reason to sell you, whereas the night before a title, there isn't really a business reason for anyone to hire you. And so that's kind of the practical aspect of a piano competition. They exist all over the world, and some of the most famous ones are the Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow, the Chopin competition in Poland, and the one big one that we have here in the United States is the Van Cliburn. I had entered the Van Cliburn in 1994, only to be shown the door through the mailbox and saying, no, thank you, you don't need to come here, we don't want you. And I decided 4 years later at the next Cliburn that I would try one more time, because at age 30, you are basically barred from competition. You're considered too old. And so this was going to be my last chance to make the age cutoff in 1997. And so I entered and somehow got in, and that was shocking to begin with for me. And then it's 3.5 weeks of rounds where you play over and over and over again in different configurations and in different repertoire, and there are eliminations at every stage. From initially about 300 people who applied to the competition, 150 were asked to do screening auditions, and then 35 people were invited to the competition that takes place in Fort Worth in May. And so just being one of those 35 was amazing. And then eventually 12 came from 35, 6 came from 12, and 3 medalists came from that. Yeah, I won.
You won gold. I mean, John is underselling this. The Van Cliburn is like the Olympics of classical music, piano. In fact, it's held like every 4 years. And it started in 1962, won by an American, and then I don't think another American won since you?
There was one in the meantime, but
Okay.
1981 was the one.
And none since.
None since.
And the next one is?
This year.
This year?
2025. And actually, for the very first time, I'm now on the other side of the table. I've been invited to be a juror for the competition. So.
Now, I believe the Russians have 4 gold medals. So for those keeping track of the medal count, they're up by at least 1. So maybe this year we'll get back. And you mentioned they cut off as 30.
About 30. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Hollywood actress. Sorry. So when you win gold medal at the Van Cliburn, do they kind of own you, or I mean, you had mentioned, these agencies pick you up, and these houses that are booking, solo pianos, orchestras looking for soloists. I imagine your dance card got pretty full.
So once the thing that we all want as budding competitors is the chance to play, and the Cliburn competition at the time gave really the largest performing prize offered to any winner of any major competition. Naturally, there are others that have great international reputations, and from that, you are kind of expected to jumpstart a career on your own. But the Cliburn lined up what they promised was 2 years of concert engagements for the winners, meaning any of the laureates, any of the finalists, but really the gold, silver, and bronze medalists. And what happened, especially in North America following my year, is that once the American person won, all of the presenters in the United States said, we're not taking anyone except for the American, partly because my story was so odd, and going back to the fact that I had never really attended a conservatory. I didn't do anything that basically all my colleagues were doing. I didn't even have degrees in music, and it just sounds like I'm disqualifying myself from being here today. But I had not only 2, but then 3 years of kind of planned out concert tours following the Cliburn, and that's what exactly I needed. But it also meant that I was playing over 100 dates a year, which in terms of just being away was probably about 85% of the year. So I was not home. And in fact, I was teaching at St. Francis up until the time that I won. And I didn't even get to go back to clean out my classroom until August. So you can imagine the juxtaposition of events. 3 days after, winning the Cliburn, I'm making debuts in Washington and then flying to Europe and doing all these things. And in August, I was scraping gum off the classroom off the desks in my classroom, but in the most really bittersweet way, because I knew that this part of my life was not going to return. And as a German teacher at a high school, I loved it. I thought this might not be the way I wanted to spend my life, but it certainly was meaningful at the time in my 20s. And I still see some students show up at concerts around the country and around the world, actually. So it's a most rewarding kind of full circle story.
Yeah, we actually met during this time because I was working for a Performing Arts Center in Memphis, Tennessee, and we had always booked, the Van Cliburn winner, and so it was the late, 98, 99 or something that, and I was this lowly little like marketing, person, but my job was to pick up the artists from the airport, and get them to the hall, and so we first met there, and then we went our separate ways, and now 27 years later, we're working with each other again. So.
Well, I have to say, like a lot of the people that I meet on the road, my visits are so quick that I don't remember, but I did remember Robert, and one of the reasons I remembered Robert is because he was very nice and everything was perfect, but also because we had a day off, and on the day off, he said, hey, do you want to go to Graceland? And I said, well, of course I want to go to Graceland, and so that's our history.
So yada yada yada. You've now become this pianist. You're performing with orchestras all over the world, solo recitals. You've got chamber music projects. Let's jump to today. Like, what's your life like today? How many concerts do you perform? What projects are you involved with? And what's really motivating you on the keyboard?
Well. The wonderful thing about this profession is how it just kind of morphs into things that you don't expect. And I think, talking to young people who are in the arts, I think my one piece of advice, if I could offer one, is to just be brave enough to walk through the door that you think is not for you. because that led me to many different things. I thought I was going to just basically play concerts the rest of my life, but then suddenly I was asked to become an artistic director of a chamber music festival out on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and so I do the artistic planning for that with a colleague, which means which means working as an administrator. I was in a hotel room in Seattle once playing with the Seattle Symphony, and I got a call from the president of the San Francisco Conservatory saying, hey, we have a situation here, can you come teach? And I said, well, no. And that conversation just kept going, and then finally I had somehow said yes, and I'm still there. And so teaching was not on my radar, but somehow this, in a very adjunct way, I now have 8 students at the San Francisco Conservatory, and I love this. I love being able to teach and could see their progress or lack thereof, and trace this all and see myself in them in many ways. But my life is still mainly performing, traveling, performing with big orchestras and big houses, but also, I saw Vic Corsilia here, and I played in his house twice, and he did a fundraiser, and I got to play there. So there are all these wonderful kind of small town, small event things that are actually as meaningful to me as a traveling soloist as the big performances are.
So I have a personal question that I've always wanted to ask a concert pianist, because I'm a recovering trumpet player, and for when I was in my career, it would take me months to work up a concerto, especially if I had to memorize it, and that was all that I did. Pianists such as yourself, you're playing a different concerto like every week with a different orchestra, and so how do you juggle such kind of competing priorities?
That's the hardest part. I think when you plan a season, so our seasons, our concert tours are planned about between 1 and 3 years in advance. So at least I kind of know where I should be and what I kind of should be playing. And you try as best as possible with the managements and the presenters to organize yourself in a way that you have enough time to prepare the material. But that is actually what causes the most stress, is just not feeling at any point that you're there, you're ready to kind of play this in front of other people. And the things that compete with that, of course, now are teaching, just time at home, being a dad, wanting to be a dad and not always wanting to practice, 8 hours, 10 hours a day, and not being able to as well. And I don't honestly know how you do it, except that you try to do it intelligently, meaning that I don't play recital programs, which are 2 hours of solo piano music, without anything that are things that I am playing for the first time, because that would scare me beyond belief. I always have something there that I know, maybe something that's a mid-level piece, and then something that's completely new, and thereby I can kind of gauge the time of preparation accordingly. But I think the key, maybe like in any profession, is just how you organize your own time. I feel like that has more to do with my sanity than the mechanics of what I do. What we're trained to do, we do because that's what we're supposed to do. We all know what we're doing. It's how you organize your life around that I think either determines success or not.
Right, thanks. Before we see if anybody out in the room has a question, just want to know, do you have any upcoming performances? Where can we hear you? And also, do you have a website where people can find information?
Well, I'm going to Puerto Rico, but that's probably not what you think. My next week is in Puerto Rico. But here in San Jose, October 5th and 6th, that we were just talking about, I get to play with my hometown orchestra. And it's always one of the most fun dates, but also one of the most scary, because I think playing at home is the most scary place to play. It's a program on which I will play actually 2 works, and one happens to be a work I have never played before. It is the Copland Piano Concerto. It's a very short, kind of thorny but really jazzy piece that I think goes well with the second piece that I'm playing, which is Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. I think I've played this with the orchestra several times. It's been always so much fun. It's incredible to be in the California Theater just as a performer, but also just as a San Josean, because not having grown up with the California Theater and now having that, I think is an incredible thing for the city, just culturally, and it's just a wonderful place to sit in, not let alone make music in. So I hope you can all come. It would be, I think it's going to be a really fun program.
Thanks, John. It's the 100th anniversary of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue this year, so there you go. Yeah, thanks. Questions?
I have a question. Gentlemen, great presentation. Sean Cottle from Hoag Fenton.
Hi.
What changed or what transpired between the first time you played at the Van Claiborne competition to the year that you won the gold? What happened?
Well, that's a great question, and the answer I'm sure could, be all afternoon. But there are several things, and one is that I think, those weren't the only competitions I was entering. I kept having to re-prepare and re-evaluate, and every time a door would close, it would cause me to just think, okay, what can I do that's better? So for a young artist, I think on the correct path, so to speak, each year represents a huge potential for growth, just in terms of what you want out of yourself or your own playing. And so I learned to just listen to myself, more and more. And I feel like I'm still on that road, that we haven't really solved that problem. But also in '95, I played in a slightly smaller competition called the U.S. National Chopin Piano Competition, which is in Miami, and won that. And I do think that in many ways that was the difference, because that competition gave me debuts at Kennedy Center, at Lincoln Center. I, at the time, was getting reviewed at every concert. I did a tour with the Florida Orchestra. I did all of these things that then made my resume bigger. And I think it gave me credibility on a level that I didn't have prior to 1995. So I think all of those things combined, and just how you look at music at 27 is very different than how you look at it at 19. And everybody's on a different timeline artistically, and I don't necessarily think that you are the greatest artist at 27 or a finished product, but that's why a medal in the arts is a beginning, whereas a medal in the Olympics may be an apex or a culmination of a certain period of achievement. But for us, it really is just the door opening.
Great, thank you.
Bob, thanks very much for bringing Mr. Nakamatsu. I just was wondering why you have a piano behind you.
I always know that if there's a piano at a party I'm invited to, that's why I got invited.
Hi, John. It's Holly Elkins. We were together at St. Francis. You may not remember this. We're relatively close in age, but you were actually a teacher while I was a student. And my greatest memory of you is when we hosted a rally. And we had a side-by-side. It was a terrible, pretend awful singer against you, because nobody knew at the school that we knew that you played, but we didn't know how well you played. And so we had a terrible singer, and then Mr. Nakamatsu comes up, and you brought the whole house down with your piano performance, and it was incredible. I share that because I think it was really insightful for us to see that, and so exciting to see an artist to perform that way, right, in our midst. And so my question to you is, going back to your time when you were in preschool, which you don't remember, but you had that piano in front of you, you've been in schools, what can we do to encourage more students to be artists and musicians and to appreciate classical music? I have a budding bassist guitarist in my house right now who's playing not a lot of classical music, so what can we do?
Well, I think the key is just exposure, and kind of a priority. I speak with a lot of symphony patrons or people who kind of are already sold on the arts, at least in our sphere. And I think what they say is that there's some sort of personal connection. My grandmother used to take me to concerts even though I didn't want to go, and then somehow they are now supporters or board members of orchestras. These early exposures that are meaningful in a personal way are more important than anything that you get in a school, and yet it starts often in a school. I know that a lot of people who are now classical music fans say that they started loving music because in their school they would either have a healthy music program or they would be exposed to people coming through as guests or experiencing educational programs designed to go out into public systems. Those things are largely up to organizations that are grassroots because they don't exist from in a big way through districts and the public system. So I think that anything that we can do to just kind of promote the arts in general, it's not even just one type of music, or it's to expose continually people, children, repeatedly to things that I don't think they always have access to at home.
Great, thank you. I know we have questions, but I know we'd also love for you to play a little bit. Thank you.
Well, I've not touched this piano, so I don't, but we will be friends by the end of this evening.
They're still clapping. Wonderful. Come join me. Thank you, Rotarians. What a warm and generous reception. That's the way to treat a fantastic artist. Thank you so much. We have made a gift in your name to the Trash Punks, the first chair of garbage recycling in San Jose. They actually keep all our creeks and streams clean of garbage and from keeping that from going to the ocean. I also have a gift from you. They are the beautiful premium Chandler walnuts, locally grown just like you, and I'll hand those to you in just a moment. All right, we're gonna do a quick photo. Just kind of stand over here so we can get our little photo here. It's going out of order. Thank you so much. Jon Nakamatsu. Wow. Next week, we have the barbecue. Please see Tori and Lisa in the lobby to sign up for that. So no meeting here next week. If you show up, you can, but we won't be here. So we'll see you out at History Park next Wednesday afternoon. And then the week after, we'll be hearing from our Mayor, Matt Mahan, on the state of the city. So make sure to attend that one. It's always a really good address. You'll learn a lot. And then for final thoughts, I just they're mostly going to be a summary of everything we've already heard. Jay Ross, Steve Ellenberg, and the team from Hopkins Carly and your newly merged fantastic team, thank you so much, and mazel tov. A bit of a bummer note for some of you. If you're Rotarians, you know that for polio is kind of our jam. Every Rotarian, every year is the motto. I've got my pin here. This is when Steve Borkenhagen was leading the polio efforts. I still have my pin, Steve, when you led those contribution efforts, and I proudly wear this pin. So if you're thinking about making your contribution to polio early this year, Sandra Jewett, where are you? She's our committee chair. Where's Sandra? I know she's in the room someplace. Sandra, she's here. I know she's here. Anyway, Sandra Jewett is leading up our polio efforts this year, so that's just something that we need to take care of right away. And then I also, just something that I heard from our distinguished guest, don't be afraid to walk in the door that you think isn't for you. I spent too many years not walking through that Rotary door because I didn't think it was for me. Now, when you bring so many wonderful guests to the room today, thank you so much for walking through that door, and I invite you to walk through many more times. We'll see you at the barbecue next week. We are adjourned.